Welcome in, y'all. Today we're talking about the NFL playoffs. We're breaking it down. If you missed who I have in the playoffs, that's my last video. You can go check that out. But we're going to jump right into the matchups today. Kicking it off, we have Broncos at Ravens. So this coming year, the Broncos are much improved. They're even better. People are considering them as serious AFC contenders, and they still fall in the 7th slot. It's unfortunate. It's due to a tie-breaking scenario with both the Chiefs and the Chargers, and luck just didn't go their way. So I have them visiting Baltimore here in this NFL wildcard round, and this would be a very good game. The Ravens are prone to losing some playoff games over the years over these Lamar Jackson years that maybe they shouldn't have. They've done better over the last couple years taking care of those games, but the Broncos are going to be a very good team this year. This is definitely going to be a different story compared to when Denver came into Baltimore last season. And this is one, I'm going to go ahead and go with the upset pick here, giving the Broncos 24-20 on the road in Baltimore to kick off these playoffs. And I want to do some upsets, of course. It's no fun if you just pick the higher seed every time. But I also want to keep it realistic, of course, not going to just, have the worst teams in the playoffs in the Super Bowl or something like that. So I do start off with an upset here, though, with Broncos over Ravens. I think it's very realistic when you see the team the Broncos have put together for this year, the defense. Sean Payton, Bo Nix here too. They're going to be a great team, especially if their receivers can step up a little bit. But moving on, we'll do the next AFC wildcard game. We have the Chargers and Chiefs. Again, these two teams, I have them tying regular season record, but someone has to win the division. The tiebreaker goes the Chiefs' way, and the Chargers are heading to a likely frigid Arrowhead the second weekend of January. So this is a tough one for the Chargers. Neutral site in the playoffs, you could maybe convince me here, but this is tough. You have an LA team traveling to a very cold Kansas City, likely at least very cold this time of year. The Chiefs in the playoffs have made it very obvious they're tough to beat no matter what you think about their team heading into the season, and it just feels like it'd be irresponsible to have the Chiefs go out in the wildcard round when Mahomes has at least reached the AFC Championship in every season he's played. So give me the Chiefs to win that one 20-17 in what would be a disappointing end to the season for the Chargers. Then moving on, we have the Bengals visiting the Texans, and you can guarantee this is going to be that annual Texans 4:30 Eastern playoff game. Always is on Saturday, probably kick off the playoffs. And this is a fun game. You have the Bengals, who are very clearly an offensive team. Texans have the offense, but their defense is incredibly strong and might be their stronger side of the ball, especially with how weak their O-line is. And that's still a major concern to me, the weakness of their O-line. And this is a game that really could go either way. But at the end of the day, I think I trust the Bengals here more in the playoffs. The Texans have been doing good at winning these home games and then winning the division, but they're not usually against the toughest of opponents, and they haven't quite made it past one of those top teams in the next round. But I think the Bengals are a really good team. Obviously, you have a top 4 quarterback and a top 2 wide receiver. They're going to be tough to beat. I think the Bengals slip by and upset, if you want to call it an upset, the Texans on the road. Then moving over to the NFC, we have the Vikings slipping in as the 7th seed. I don't know why people are low on them this year. I love the Vikings this year. I think this is a 14-win team that maybe got better. So I think they can definitely find their way into the playoffs. And then the Rams as the 2 seed, a very favorable schedule for them. Of course, health permitting. Stafford has already had some back issues, so got to keep an eye on that. That would obviously change this, but for now, this is where I have it. So this is a rematch of last year's playoff game where the Rams kind of dominated. They sacked the Vikings 8 times en route to a blowout victory in that wildcard round. And while I don't expect this one to go that way, I think the Vikings will be better prepared for the game plan the Rams will throw at them, and I think J.J. McCarthy will handle that situation better than Sam Darnold, in my opinion. I do still think the Rams sneak out the game here. I think it's a tight one down to the end, but I do think the Rams win this one and move on to the next round. Then, coming up next, you have yet another playoff rematch from last season. You have the Commanders visiting the Bucs. People, I think, are a little too high on the Commanders this year as far as, you might be asking why I have them as a 6th seed. A lot of people have them winning the division. This is a team, they have a lot of holes. That defense is a little weak. The run defense I don't trust at all. The offense, you have Jaden Daniels, who's great, but outside of that, it's fine, maybe a little above average. It's not spectacular or anything. So don't let Jaden Daniels being so good blind you from the fact that this Washington team still isn't perfect. So that is why they fall to the 6th seed. The Bucks are a very, very well-rounded team. Very few holes on the team. Maybe not as many stars as some other teams, but very well-rounded with a very easy schedule. I think they should be a top 3 seed for sure. And this one is in Tampa Bay. And last year, the Bucks, they don't fumble that ball. They probably win that game. And I think this year they get it done. I think the Bucks are a bit better than they were last year. I think they don't make the same mistake. And I think they take care of business at home. And again, what would be a disappointing result for Washington after making the NFC Championship game last year. But sometimes, even if your roster makes a step forward, the result can take a step back, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, a lot of playoffs and a lot of who goes all the way is a lot about luck of the draw. Luck of the regular season schedule, which gives you your seed, and then luck of those playoff matchups. So not making the NFC Championship definitely doesn't mean they got worse. But moving on now to the last NFC wildcard game. Ignore the seeds there. This is a 5 versus 4 seed matchup, and it's 2 teams from the NFC North. The Packers just getting that Parsons trade done, which is huge for them, really signifies that they're all in this year as a Super Bowl contender, and I think they have the team and the coaching staff to do so. I have them winning the division over the Lions on a nice little tiebreaker, so they luckily get a huge home field advantage with the frozen tundra to avoid going to that Detroit Dome in the playoffs. And this would be a great game. This would be a close game, and I think these are 2 teams you get a matchup in round 1 of teams that are both capable of making a Super Bowl run, which is always exciting. It's partially disappointing because you're sad to see one of the teams have to go home in round 1, but it's exciting to get that great of a matchup in the first round. And I've gone back and forth on this one, and I think originally, without the Parsons thing, not just because he's a game changer, but also just the mentality that it signifies the Packers going into the year with, that they are truly all in. There's no more like we're growing, we're doing this, we're trying to win a Super Bowl. And I love that. And because of that, I feel, especially at Lambeau Field there, I'm giving the Packers just a slight edge, and I'm going to take them at home 26 to 23 over the Lions. And what would be a great game, especially if it was that close, that would be, could be an instant classic there, in my opinion. Now, speaking of instant classics, I mean, these are 2 teams that have played in the AFC Championship twice just in the past 3 or 4 years, and those were both phenomenal games. I'm looking for more of the same in this one. This would be a great divisional round matchup. What else more can you say here? You have the Chiefs, who, coming off that disappointing Super Bowl loss, they're hoping to get back there and make up for it, but it's tough. I think the Patriots learned the lesson. I think a lot of other teams have, that even when you have dominant success, even if you're still later going to have dominant success, people forget, despite how good, how dominant those Patriots teams were, they went 10 years between Super Bowls number 3 and number 4 with Brady. So it's all very within the realm of possibility that the Chiefs fall short several years in a row here before finally getting back to that top later in Mahomes' career. You never know. But this is a great game here. And, the Bengals, their defensive struggles, but frankly, if they made it this far, you would expect they figured out a little bit. And I think their defense is bad, but people are overplaying that a bit. They're acting like it's the worst they've ever seen. I think the Bengals are able to go into Arrowhead and sneak out a very, very close victory. I think they get it done. And, listen, at this point, Burrow would be 6-2 in the playoffs. And I like the odds. I think they've done it before and they can do it again. So give me the Bengals on the road. Then we move to Broncos at Bills, a rematch from the wild card round last year. Broncos trying to prove that they've grown and can overcome the very powerful Bills this season. And, I think they have the talent. I think they have the coaching staff to do so. I think the Broncos are going to have a very good year. I think this is just a tough spot for them. I don't love their matchup and their odds here against the Bills. And really, the tiebreaker landing the Broncos in the 7 really hurts them. But I'm going to take the Bills in this one, 26-17. But again, the Broncos, I have them in the 7 seed, but that's due to a 3-way tiebreaker. They could easily end up with that 3 seed that I have the Chiefs having. And that can really make or break your entire season, because you get that 3 seed, your playoff path is fairly nice. You get a couple home playoff games maybe. You for sure at least get one. And it's a much easier path, not playing the top dogs. So you get that 7 seed, you're just playing the hardest opponent week after week. So could be tough, and we'll see how the regular season turns out. But moving over to the NFC for the divisional round, we have the Rams and Bucks, and man, this would be a fun game. I'd be looking forward to this one. This just seems like a game that would be a lot of fun. I think I said that about the regular season one, but you got Baker Mayfield coming into LA. Remember that crazy drive he had that revitalized his career with the Rams there. And this one just feels like fun, especially on turf in a dome. You can maybe see some points. And I think these are two teams that both have a very good chance at going and even winning the Super Bowl that aren't getting talked about quite enough. I think the Rams are getting talked about, but not the Bucks enough. However, I will still take the Rams in this one. I like them to narrowly beat the Bucks. I like the coaching staff edge in the playoffs. I don't trust the Bucks coaching staff that much. And the Rams have proven when they get there, even sometimes they can do more with less. So I like them in this playoff spot over Tampa Bay, but do give Tampa Bay their credit. Then moving on to the divisional round for the Packers and Eagles, a rematch of the wild card round once again last year. And I think we could see a different story this time around. I think the Eagles, albeit a super small one, have taken a step back. And the Packers have certainly taken a step forward with some of their offseason additions, including Micah Parsons. What a trade that was. But I'm going to take a very shocking road upset here and give me the Packers on the road. Part of this is because I really do think the Packers are all in. I believe in them to be able to go on the road and get wins like this. I can't say I trust the Eagles to do it 2 years in a row. But the other half is maybe wishful thinking, because I don't like seeing repeats unless the repeat happened to be my team. So I wouldn't necessarily want to see the Eagles or the Chiefs making it to the championship game or the Super Bowl for another year. So wishful thinking, but I also really do think the Packers this year could go into Philly and win that game, especially from what they've learned. I think they have the team to do it, even though they would be underdogs in the game. Then we move on to the AFC Championship game. You have the Bengals at the Bills. This is a great one. The AFC Championship has just been great for years now, it feels like. And man, I mean, the storylines here, you have Josh Allen. If they had the 1 seed, a great regular season, this is where they get over the hump. But who comes in but Joe Burrow and the Bengals, a team that has kind of had the Bills' number over the last few years. And in the playoffs, you think back, Bengals came in and kind of handled the Bills in Buffalo in a snowy game a few years back. So can they do it again? Some people would say yes. The trend continues. When teams are better against other teams, they just continue that trend. However, I'm not so sure. I think the Bengals, I trust their playoff moxie to get this far. But when push comes to shove, winning 3 straight road playoff games is tough. The Bills, better roster. Bills at home. Give me the Bills to win this game and finally get to the Super Bowl. Job's not done yet, but I do think the Bills get over the hump this year, although I've thought that for a couple years. But I'll give me the Bills there. Then the NFC Championship game, you get Packers and Rams. This is a fun one here. 2 teams looking to get back to the Super Bowl, and this would be a close game. This is a very solid NFC Championship game. It would be over in LA, and I could go back and forth on this one. Man, it's tough. It's tough, and that's what you want, though, for an NFC Championship, AFC Championship game. You want these to be close, good games. The NFC Championship game last year, remember Washington versus Philly. Washington was great. They had a great run, but really, really on paper, and you saw it out on the field, Philly was just a better team. And sometimes you hate to see that in an NFC Championship game, but that would not be the case here. A great game, but like I said, with the Bengals, winning 3 straight road playoff games is tough. And while it's inside, I'm going to give the Rams the edge here. I think they move on to the Super Bowl with a narrow NFC Championship win over the Packers. And then you get Super Bowl 60, Buffalo versus Los Angeles in Santa Clara out there in California. I still wouldn't be surprised if there was more Bills fans than Rams fans, though, even though it's just down the road from where the Rams play, and it's cross country for the Bills. This, we remember the last time these two teams met, we had that high-flying shootout in LA last December. That was a great game. The score, both teams reached 40 points. I think it was 48 to 45, maybe, something like that. And the Rams did come away with the win. That was a crazy game, a lot of fun. If we got a Super Bowl like that, that would go down in history. However, when two teams have fireworks in the regular season, it's not always the same way in the Super Bowl. Teams are a bit safer, defenses are a bit stronger, the game plans are very good. Very rarely, I feel like, are you seeing major shootouts. So I do still think there will be some points, but I do think the Bills are the better team here, and I think they win this one 30-22. They win by one score, a big score, of course. You have to get the touchdown and the 2-point to tie that one up. But I do have the Bills winning Super Bowl 60 in my preseason predictions. I'll probably do a mid-season prediction as well, and I will laugh at how much this will probably change because it's the NFL, and it's great. We have so much parity nowadays. Teams you never expect are coming out of the woodwork, and they are all of a sudden Super Bowl contenders. And teams you thought were going to be really good are sometimes just one or two injuries away from being bottom feeders. So it's a very fluctuating league, a lot of fun. It's going to be a great season. The Bills are my pick, and maybe I just feel like they're due. I'm not a Bills fan, but it feels like this is the year they get over the hump. But then again, I've kind of felt that in past years. It doesn't happen. So, it'll probably be like the Chiefs and Eagles again, something like that. But we will see. Season kicks off in just a few days.